The first light of dawn arrives without a sound. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that we should rise each morning with a clear purpose, greeting the day as a partner in our growth. This quiet moment holds the seed of a profound practice, the Stoic art of intentional living. We are about to walk through a single day from sunrise to sunset, witnessing how ancient wisdom transforms ordinary life into a training ground for strength and peace. You will discover how to navigate your entire day with more resilience, focus, and calm. We will explore how a simple commute can become a lesson in perspective, and how a frustrating interruption might reveal your inner strength. What does a truly mindful day feel like from the inside out? This quiet space between sleeping and waking is your first opportunity for strength. How do you prepare your mind before the world makes its demands? The Stoics called this practice Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils. It is not about expecting the worst, but about readying your character for anything. You sit for a few moments and you mentally walk through the day ahead. You consider the potential friction points, the difficult conversation, the delayed train, the frustrating email. You are not worrying about them. You are vaccinating yourself against their surprise. You visualize yourself meeting each obstacle with patience, with wisdom, with calm resolve. You rehearse your virtue in the theater of your own mind. Seneca advised that we should go over in our minds beforehand the things we fear, for nothing is so bitter that a calm mind cannot find comfort in it. He wrote in On the Shortness of Life that people are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the very thing in which it is right to be stingy. This morning meditation is how you become stingy with your peace, guarding it before the day can steal it away. Imagine you foresee a challenging meeting. Instead of dreading it, you sit with the idea. You see yourself listening more than you speak. You see yourself responding to criticism with curiosity, not defensiveness. You anchor your intention not on the outcome of the meeting, but on your own conduct within it. The goal is to separate what is within your control, your judgments and your actions, from what is not, the opinions and reactions of others. When you step into that room later, you carry a mental blueprint of your own composure. What does your own mental preparation look like now? Is it a frantic scroll through news feeds or a reactive glance at your inbox? Could you reclaim those first few minutes not to absorb the chaos of the world, but to affirm your own inner stability? This simple dawn ritual builds an inner citadel, a quiet fortress that the noise of the day will struggle to penetrate. The water kettle begins its low hum, a signal for the day's first deliberate action. Pouring the water, watching the steam rise, measuring the grounds, each motion is an opportunity to be entirely here. This is where Stoic philosophy moves from the quiet of your mind into the movement of your hands. The ancient Stoics did not view routine as mere repetition. They saw it as the essential training ground for attention and self-control, a way to practice virtue in the smallest of actions. Epictetus, in his Enchiridion, offered a powerful directive. Perform every task as if it were the most important task in the world. He wrote, if you are going to perform a task, do not avoid being seen doing it, and do not do it with the intention of being seen. Perform the task with the same excellence whether someone is watching or not. This is the discipline of action, where making your coffee or tying your shoes becomes a rehearsal for integrity. When you focus completely on preparing your breakfast, you are not just making food, you are cultivating presence. You notice the texture of the bread, the sound of the toaster, the color of the fruit. You are practicing the art of directing your will toward a single, necessary purpose without distraction or complaint. This focused engagement starves anxiety of its fuel, which is a mind scattered across past regrets and future worries. What single, ordinary task will you choose to perform with your full and undivided attention today? It could be brushing your teeth, folding laundry, or walking to your car. Approach it not as a chore to finish, but as a minute-long meditation on doing what is necessary and doing it with care. This is how you build a life of purpose, not through grand, occasional gestures, but through 1,000 small acts of mindful intention. The world outside your door can feel like a sudden assault of noise and urgency. Cars honk, schedules press in, and the simple act of getting from one place to another becomes a source of daily friction. How does a Stoic navigate this transition without surrendering their morning calm? They reach for a powerful mental exercise known as the view from above. This is not about escaping reality, but about seeing it with unclouded eyes. You begin by mentally pulling the camera back, far back from the gridlock or the crowded train car. See your vehicle as just one among millions, your route a single line on a sprawling map. Now pull back further. See your city as a mere pattern of light, your country a shape on a spinning globe. Continue outward until you see the earth itself, a fragile blue marble hanging in the immense, silent blackness of space. From this vantage point, your delayed bus or your minor frustration is revealed in its true scale. It is a tiny, fleeting event in a vast and ancient cosmos. Marcus Aurelius constantly practiced this shift in perspective. In his meditations, he wrote, "You can rid yourself of many useless things among those that disturb you, for they lie entirely in your imagination. And you will then gain for yourself ample space by comprehending the whole universe in your mind." He was reminding himself to see things for what they are, stripped of the dramatic stories we add to them. A traffic jam is not a personal injustice. It is simply many people trying to go to many places at the same time. It is a phenomenon of physics and logistics, not a targeted attack on your day. The next time you are stuck in a line of unmoving cars, try this. Instead of gripping the wheel tighter, take a slow breath and enact the view from above. See the scene from 100 feet up, then 1,000. Watch the tiny cars glinting in the sun. Remember the countless other human beings in those cars, each with their own hopes and worries. Then let your mind expand to hold the whole planet with its oceans and continents, rotating peacefully through the void. Does your meeting running 5 minutes late truly warrant the storm of stress you were about to summon? This practice systematically dismantles anxiety by placing your immediate concerns against the backdrop of eternity. What minor inconvenience will you choose to see from this grander perspective today? Your work is far more than a paycheck or a title. It is your designated arena for practicing virtue, a daily opportunity to fulfill your role within the human community. The Stoics had a powerful term for this, kathikonta, which translates to appropriate actions or duties. These are the actions that align with our nature as rational, social beings, the things we ought to do simply because it is right to do them. Your job, in its essence, is a collection of these duties. Epictetus, who began his life as a slave, understood that our station does not define our character. He wrote, "Remember that you are an actor in a drama, of such a kind as the author pleases to make it. If short, then in a short one. If long, then in a long one. If it is his pleasure you should act a poor man, a cripple, a governor, or a private person, see that you act it naturally, for this is your business to act well the character given you. But to choose it belongs to another. Your business is not to complain about the part you have been given, but to play it with excellence. Think about the most tedious task waiting in your inbox today. Perhaps it is filling out a repetitive report or addressing a customer's complaint you have heard a dozen times before. the common reaction is to rush through it with resentment, to do the bare minimum. The Stoic approach is to see this very task as the perfect training ground for your integrity. You choose to complete that report with meticulous care, not because your manager will praise you, but because doing a thing well is its own reward. You listen to that customer with genuine patience, not because they are always right, but because showing respect is a reflection of your own character. You are polishing your virtue against the rough grain of monotony. How can you bring this sense of purpose to your own work today? Where can you shift your focus from the external outcome, like a promotion or recognition, to the internal quality of your own effort? Your work becomes a sacred practice when you see each action, no matter how small, as a chance to enact your commitment to diligence, cooperation, and honor. This is how a simple job transforms into a life of meaning. Your carefully planned afternoon is shattered by a single notification. A critical meeting is cancelled, a deadline is suddenly moved up, or a colleague needs your immediate attention on a completely different problem. This is not a deviation from your day. This is the day presenting its next test. Stoicism teaches us that our peace is not found in a perfect sequence of events, but in our adaptable response to an ever-changing reality. The core tool here is the dichotomy of control, that fundamental separation between what is up to us and what is not. You cannot control the interruption itself. You can, however, completely control your judgment of it and your subsequent action. The cancellation is an external event, a neutral fact. Your frustration, your sense of injustice, your internal rant about wasted time, these are your additions. They are the source of the suffering, not the event itself. Seneca, in his essay on Providence, wrote that difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. He argued that we should welcome hardships, for they are not impediments to our path, they are the path itself. He saw obstacles as the very material through which our character is forged. When your project scope changes without warning, the Stoic move is to pause and make this critical separation. What here is outside my command? The decision from leadership, the market forces, the client's shifting demands. Acknowledge these as facts like the weather. What remains firmly within my power, my choice to approach this new challenge with creativity instead of resentment. My decision to communicate clearly about revised timelines, my commitment to doing good work regardless of the circumstances. This is how you pivot with calm. You take a breath, you release the plan you are clinging to, and you ask the only productive question: what needs to be done now? You redirect your energy from complaining about the disruption to solving the new problem it presents. Think back to a recent disruption in your own week. Perhaps your quiet evening was upended by an urgent request, or your lunch break was swallowed by an unexpected crisis. In that moment, did you feel like a leaf blown by a storm, or like the tree that bends without breaking? How would it have felt to meet that event not with resistance, but with a quiet acceptance of the new reality, immediately followed by a deliberate and virtuous response? This art of acceptance turns every interruption into an invitation to practice resilience. The midday bell does not signal an escape from your practice, but a deepening of it. Your lunch break offers a quiet island in the rushing river of the day, a perfect moment to practice mindfulness and gratitude. This is not merely about consuming fuel, but about nourishing your entire being. The Stoics championed moderation and a profound appreciation for what sustains us, seeing even the simplest meal as a gift. The philosopher Musonius Rufus taught that we should eat for health and strength, not for fleeting pleasure. He argued that food is meant to support our life and our work, not to become a master we serve. This is not a call to austerity, but to clarity, to seeing the true purpose of nourishment. How can you bring this into your own lunch today? Begin by eating slowly. Put down your utensil between bites. Truly taste the textures and flavors, noticing the ingredients that make up your meal. As you chew, reflect on the immense chain of human effort that brought this food to you. Consider the farmer who planted the seed, the worker who harvested the crop, the truck driver who transported it, and the grocer who placed it on the shelf. This simple sandwich or bowl of soup is the endpoint of a vast network of labor and nature's generosity. By holding this awareness, you transform a routine act into a ritual of connection. You are no longer just eating, you are participating in a cycle of mutual support that spans the globe. When you feel grateful for the hands that fed you, you strengthen your own place within the human community. During your very next meal, try this simple exercise. Before you take the first bite, pause for just 5 seconds. Acknowledge the journey this food has taken to reach you. How does this small act of recognition change the experience of your lunch, turning a moment of haste into one of genuine peace and reflection? The afternoon sun casts long shadows, and with them comes a familiar dip in energy and patience. This is the precise moment when a practicing Stoic becomes most vigilant, guarding the mind against the trap of impulsive reactions. The ancient discipline of ascent is your most reliable shield in these hours. It is the practice of pausing between an external event and your internal judgment of it, creating a crucial space for reason to intervene. Epictetus, in his discourses, offered a timeless piece of counsel. Remember that it is not the thing itself that disturbs you, but your judgment about it, and this judgment you have the power to revoke at any moment. An impression enters your mind, a flash of anger at a terse email, a wave of anxiety about an unfinished task, a surge of resentment toward a distracting colleague. The untrained mind immediately assents to this impression. It accepts the initial feeling as truth and reacts from that place, often with words or actions we later regret. The Stoic, however, inserts a single, powerful question into that space. Is this impression true, or am I merely interpreting it that way? You see the email not as a personal attack, but as a poorly phrased piece of information. You feel the anxiety not as a command to panic, but as a signal to prioritize. You notice the interruption not as a violation of your time, but as a simple request for assistance. By withholding your immediate assent, you disarm the emotional charge and reclaim your freedom to choose a measured response. Consider the urge to snap at a coworker whose question feels like an interruption. The initial impression is one of frustration, a narrative that your important work is being disrespected. Before the sharp word leaves your mouth, you pause. You examine the impression. Is your colleague truly trying to disrespect you, or are they simply seeking clarity to do their own job well? The act of questioning the story you are telling yourself allows a more rational, compassionate response to emerge. The same applies to the afternoon temptation to procrastinate. The impression is that a task is dull or difficult, and the mind assents by seeking an escape. But when you pause, you can see the task for what it truly is, a necessary step toward a larger goal, and you can choose to engage with it based on that value, not on a fleeting feeling of aversion. What is one impression you often assent to without question? Is it the belief that a critical comment diminishes your worth, or that a crowded schedule guarantees a stressful day? Tomorrow, when that familiar impression arises, can you create that small space of doubt, that moment of inquiry, to see if the story you are telling yourself is the only one possible? This gentle discipline of looking twice at your own thoughts is how you build an unshakable inner calm, one examined impression at a time. A sharp word from a colleague or a critical comment online can feel like a personal blow. This sting is exactly where a practicing Stoic finds a hidden opportunity. While others might react with defensiveness or dejection, you are presented with a chance to strengthen your inner citadel. This idea, central to the philosophy of Marcus Aurelius, is the fortress of your own mind, a place of reason and virtue that remains unshaken by the shifting winds of external opinion. Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Let the part of your soul that leads and governs be undisturbed by the movements in the flesh, whether smooth or rough. Let it not commingle with them, but let it circumscribe itself and limit those affections to their proper parts. And when these affections rise up to the mind by virtue of that other sympathy, you must not try to resist the sensation, which is natural, yet the governing part of you must not add the opinion that the sensation is good or bad." He is reminding you to separate the natural, initial sting from the judgment you layer on top of it. Your worth is not determined by another person's praise, and it certainly cannot be diminished by their blame. Your value resides solely in your own character and your virtuous actions, things that are always within your control. Imagine you receive a performance review that mixes praise with some pointed constructive feedback. The untrained ego might fixate on the single negative line, feeling attacked and misunderstood. The Stoic approach is to receive the entire document with calm detachment. You listen or read carefully, setting your initial emotional reaction to the side. You then sift through the feedback with a single question in mind: what here is true and useful for my growth? You actively disregard any element that is mere opinion, delivered with ill intent or simply incorrect. You are not a sponge absorbing every drop of criticism. You are a gold prospector, patiently panning for the few valuable nuggets of truth that can help you improve. The rest you let wash away. The goal is to see the critique not as a verdict on your soul, but as raw data about your work, data you are free to use or discard. Think of a recent piece of criticism you received, whether at work or in a personal relationship. Can you recall the heat of that moment, the immediate urge to justify yourself or to retreat? Now picture yourself revisiting that same comment from within your inner citadel. See the words as mere sounds or letters, separate from your core self. Ask yourself with genuine curiosity, is there a single grain of useful truth here that I can use to become better, stronger, or more skilled? By stripping the criticism of its emotional power, you transform a potential injury into a simple tool for self-improvement, and in doing so, you claim a profound and unshakable peace. The team meeting is your next arena for virtue. Here, the Stoic principle of justice moves from an abstract ideal into tangible action. Justice for the Stoics was not merely a legal concept. It was the virtue of treating every person with fairness and respect, recognizing the spark of reason they possess just as you do. It is the daily practice of seeing your colleagues not as obstacles or tools, but as partners in a shared human endeavor. The Stoic philosopher Hierocles illustrated this with his concept of circles of concern. He said we should imagine ourselves at the center of a series of concentric circles. The innermost circle holds our own mind and body. The next holds our immediate family, then our extended family, then our local community, and so on, outward to encompass all of humanity. Our task, he taught, is to constantly draw these outer circles inward, to bring the same care and consideration we give to our close family to those in the circles further out. Your co-workers exist in one of those nearby circles. Practicing justice means actively drawing them closer, treating their concerns with a seriousness that approaches the concern you hold for your own. This looks like listening, truly listening, when a teammate is explaining their idea, instead of just waiting for your turn to speak. It means consciously valuing a contribution that is different from your own, acknowledging that a diverse perspective strengthens the whole group. It is about giving credit freely and assuming good faith in moments of misunderstanding. In your next meeting, you might consciously choose to amplify a quiet colleague's point, ensuring their voice is heard. You might pause before dismissing a contrary opinion and ask a question to better understand it. Each of these small actions is a practical exercise in Stoic justice, a way of pulling that circle of concern tighter around your shared work. Where in your own interactions today can you practice a more deliberate fairness? Is there a person you typically overlook or a viewpoint you tend to dismiss without full consideration? Justice in action is found in these conscious choices to acknowledge the shared humanity in every person you meet. That completed project, that moment of praise, it lands with a warm glow of accomplishment. This is precisely when a practicing Stoic pauses to examine the feeling itself. In the Stoic framework, success is classified as a preferred indifferent. It is something we may rationally choose to pursue, but it is not inherently good. True good lies only in our virtue, in the excellence of our character. A promotion, a win, public acclaim, these are external events. They can be given, and they can just as easily be taken away. Your virtuous response to them, however, that is yours to keep forever. Seneca offers a stark warning against becoming intoxicated by good fortune. He writes on The Happy Life, "Let us not, therefore, be elated by any successes that are only external and bestowed upon us from without. Let us keep a calm mind, undismayed in adversity and undazzled by prosperity." He is urging us to see both the applause and the silence with the same steady eyes. The goal is not to reject success, but to receive it without letting it define you. Imagine your team just landed a major account after months of work. The room is buzzing, congratulations are flowing. The Stoic move is to feel the genuine satisfaction of a shared goal achieved, to acknowledge the hard work of everyone involved, and then, consciously, to let the feeling pass. You do not cling to the euphoria. You do not start crafting a new identity as the person who closed the big deal. You simply note the event, appreciate the role you played with virtue, and then turn your attention back to the next appropriate action. Your duty is to the work itself, not to the afterglow of its results. You celebrate the win, but you do not build a home in it. Think of a personal success from your own recent past. Perhaps you received an award, mastered a difficult skill, or finally finished a long-term personal project. Can you recall the initial rush, and then perhaps the subtle anxiety that followed, the worry about having to replicate that success? Now consider how it might feel to appreciate that achievement fully, yet hold it lightly, to say to yourself, that was a good outcome and I am pleased. My worth, however, was the same before it happened and remains the same now. How can you learn to enjoy your victories without allowing them to inflate your ego or becoming attached to their repetition? The workday fades into the gentle quiet of evening, a natural threshold for reflection. This transition from your professional role back to your personal life is not just a change of location. It is a vital Stoic ritual known as the evening review. Seneca, in his work on anger, specifically advised setting aside time each night for a frank and honest conversation with yourself. He wrote, "The spirit ought to be brought up for review daily." This was the custom of Sextius, who at the day's end would interrogate his own soul. What bad habit of yours have you cured today? What fault have you resisted? In what respect are you better? This is not an exercise in self-condemnation. Its purpose is to gently examine the raw material of your day, to learn from it, and then to release it. You sit quietly and you mentally walk back through the hours. You recall a conversation where you managed to listen with patience instead of interrupting. You note a moment of frustration where you successfully paused before speaking harshly. You also examine the instances where you fell short, where your temper flared or your resolve wavered. The key is to observe these moments with the detached curiosity of a scientist studying data, not the harshness of a judge delivering a verdict. For each action, you ask a simple question. Where did I exercise virtue and where did I let it slip? Perhaps you handled a difficult email with grace, but you snapped at a family member over a minor issue. You acknowledge both without drama. You celebrate the small victory of patience and you learn from the lapse in kindness, making a quiet resolution to do better tomorrow. This practice systematically converts daily experience into wisdom. The final, crucial step is to release the entire day, the successes and the failures alike. You cannot change a single moment of it now. To cling to pride in your accomplishments or to wallow in regret over your mistakes is to chain yourself to a past that no longer exists. You review, you learn, and you let go, clearing the slate for a new day. Tonight, before you sleep, could you grant yourself just 5 minutes of this honest reflection? Do not dwell on every detail. Simply ask yourself, what is one lesson today offered me about my own character? Then take a deep breath and release the day entirely, allowing the quiet of the night to welcome a mind at peace. The journey home often mirrors the morning's rush, yet the weight of the day can make its delays feel far more personal. This evening crawl through traffic is not a punishment, but a final training session in patience. Stoicism teaches us to embrace these moments of forced waiting as opportunities to cultivate contentment and inner calm, right where we are. Epictetus, who understood life's inherent difficulties, offered a simple but profound piece of guidance. He said, "Bear and forbear." To bear is to accept the reality of the situation without internal complaint. To forbear is to resist the impulsive reaction that the situation provokes. The red light, the stalled train, the slow-moving crowd, these are not enemies to your peace. They are the very conditions for practicing it. Your commute becomes a moving meditation on acceptance when you stop fighting the reality of the delay. Instead of gripping the steering wheel and mentally screaming at the clock, you can choose to release the tension in your shoulders. You can notice the rhythm of the brake lights ahead or the way the evening light hits the buildings. You are not passively giving up, you are actively choosing a different, more peaceful relationship with the present moment. Some find it helpful to use this time to listen to a passage from Marcus Aurelius or a commentary on Stoic principles, turning the car into a rolling classroom for the soul. Others simply practice observing their surroundings without layering on irritation, watching the world go by with a detached curiosity. The man cutting you off is not a villain, he is a person in a hurry, a fellow human struggling with his own day. This shift in perspective transforms the entire experience. What single, predictable delay will you face on your way home today? The long line at the grocery store, the slow elevator in your building, the walk in the rain. Can you decide right now to meet that one event not with your usual frustration, but with a quiet experiment in bearing and forbearing? See if you can navigate that small inconvenience with a soft focus and a calm breath, discovering the profound freedom that comes from accepting what you cannot change. Your front door closes, sealing out the clamor of the world. This threshold marks the transition into your personal sanctuary, a space designed not for escape, but for the deliberate practice of virtue away from external demands. Here, the Stoic value of simplicity becomes your guiding principle for cultivating lasting tranquility. A cluttered, chaotic environment agitates the mind, while order and simplicity help it settle into its natural state of calm reason. The Stoic teacher Musonius Rufus championed this connection, arguing that living simply is essential for living well. He taught that we should provide for our needs without extravagance, for excessive possessions do not make us freer or happier. They become weights that chain our attention and drain our peace. A simple life, he believed, allows us to focus our energy on what truly matters, the development of our character. Think of your own living space. Are there surfaces buried under stacks of paper, closets overflowing with unused items, or digital devices constantly demanding your attention? This visual and mental noise creates a low hum of anxiety, pulling your focus in a dozen directions at once. The act of decluttering, then, is not just housekeeping. It is a philosophical exercise. When you deliberately remove a pile of old magazines or sort through a drawer of tangled cables, you are making a tangible statement about what you value. You are clearing away the external distractions to make room for inner clarity. This practice extends beyond physical objects to the very atmosphere you create. Your first action upon entering your home can set the tone for the entire evening. Instead of immediately turning on the television or scrolling through a screen, you might choose a different ritual. You could take 3 slow, deep breaths, consciously releasing the tensions of the day. You might light a single candle, using its quiet flame as an anchor for your attention. Or you could spend just 5 minutes restoring order to one small area, like hanging up your coat or clearing the kitchen counter. These are not grand gestures, but they are profound ones. They are signals you send to your own mind, declaring that this space is for calm and presence. What is one small, tangible change you could introduce to your home environment this week to actively support your peace? It might be designating a corner for quiet reading, committing to a screen-free first hour after you arrive, or simply ensuring your bedside table holds only a book and a lamp, free from the clutter of daily life. This intentional cultivation of simplicity transforms your home from a mere dwelling into a training ground for a serene and resilient mind. The warmth of a shared meal or the simple comfort of a quiet conversation at home represents the most intimate arena for your Stoic practice. This is where the principle of oikeiosis finds its deepest expression, the natural affinity and sense of belonging we feel toward those closest to us. The Stoics viewed our family roles not as burdensome obligations, but as our most fundamental duties to be fulfilled with both unwavering reason and genuine affection. Marcus Aurelius, despite the immense weight of leading an empire, constantly reflected on the lessons he learned from his own family. In his private journal, now known as Meditations, he wrote with gratitude about his grandfather, who taught him good character and the control of temper, and his mother, who showed him piety and generosity. He saw these relationships as the primary school for his virtue. Your own family, in all its complexity, is your personal training ground. The duty is to engage not out of mere responsibility, but with a full and attentive presence. This means when your child is telling you a long story about their day, you set your phone aside, you make eye contact, and you truly listen. You are not just hearing words, you are honoring their experience. When a partner shares a concern, you offer your complete attention, creating a space of safety and understanding. You perform the simple, necessary tasks, like washing the dishes or helping with homework, with a spirit of care rather than resentment. These actions are the living practice of Stoic justice and love, drawn inward from the wider world to the heart of your home. Where in your own family life can you practice a more deliberate and loving attention tonight? Is it during a shared meal, a brief moment before bed, or a routine weekend chore? Choose one interaction and resolve to be entirely there, letting your actions communicate that in this moment, nothing else is more important than the person in front of you. The evening meal unfolds as a quiet ceremony of connection. This shared table is far more than a place to eat. It is a living practice of Stoic community and mindful restraint. Here, the virtue of moderation finds its most tangible expression, not as a form of deprivation, but as a path to greater freedom and appreciation. Seneca wrote beautifully on the importance of sharing food with friends, viewing the dinner table itself as a school of philosophy. He suggested that we should choose our dining companions not for their status, but for their character, for the conversation that will nourish the soul as much as the food nourishes the body. He saw a simple meal among true friends as a place to practice honesty, to share ideas, and to strengthen the bonds of our common humanity. In your own home, this philosophy comes to life through deliberate action. It means setting aside the glowing screens to truly face one another, creating a space where meaningful conversation can flourish. You might ask a question that goes deeper than the surface of the day, listening with genuine interest to the answer. It also means eating with an awareness of your body's true needs, savoring each bite without rushing toward fullness. This is moderation in practice, enjoying the flavors and the company without surrendering to excess. You are not just consuming food, you are partaking in a ritual that reaffirms your place within a circle of care. At your very next evening meal, could you make one conscious choice to embody this spirit? Perhaps you will serve a slightly smaller portion, eating slowly enough to truly taste it. Or maybe you will focus entirely on the person across from you, offering them the gift of your undivided attention. How might this simple shift from consumption to communion change the texture of your entire evening? Your evening hours offer a quiet harbor for the mind, but this time is far from empty. The Stoics saw leisure not as a void to be filled with distraction, but as a fertile ground for intellectual and ethical cultivation. While others might spend these precious moments scrolling through endless feeds or losing themselves in passive entertainment, you have a different opportunity. You can actively strengthen your understanding and refine your character. Epictetus was adamant about this daily discipline. He taught that we must keep the teachings of philosophy at hand every day, not just for intellectual curiosity, but for the practical work of living. He wrote, "If you didn't learn these things in order to demonstrate them in practice, what did you learn them for? The purpose of study is direct application to the challenges of your life." This is why reading a page of Marcus Aurelius or a passage from Seneca is more than just reading. It is a conversation across centuries, a way of inviting a wise and steady voice into your own thoughts. It is a form of mental training that directly shapes your judgments and your reactions. Instead of allowing the final hours of your day to be defined by the day's residue of stress or the mindless consumption of digital noise, you can choose a different ritual. You might spend just 10 minutes with a Stoic text, reading slowly and pausing to reflect on a single idea. How does this insight apply to a difficulty you face today or a choice you will make tomorrow? You could close the book and spend a few more minutes in a journal, not detailing every event but examining your own progress. Where did I act with courage today? Where did I succumb to fear? What judgment might I revise tomorrow? This active engagement with philosophy turns leisure into a proactive investment in your own resilience. Could you dedicate a small, intentional portion of your free time tonight to this kind of reflection, choosing to nourish your mind with wisdom instead of merely numbing it with noise? The quiet of the night often invites the day's unfinished business to parade through your mind. A project deadline looms, a future conversation feels daunting, or a vague concern about tomorrow's weather morphs into anxiety about a cancelled plan. This mental churn is where Stoicism offers a simple but profound tool for release. The philosophy directs your focus away from the uncertain future and anchors it firmly in the undeniable present, the only moment you ever truly possess. Marcus Aurelius captured this with a powerful reminder to himself. He wrote, "Do not let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present." Your mind is not powerless against these nighttime worries. It is merely misdirected, trying to solve problems that do not yet exist. The future is a realm of imagination and possibility, not a tangible reality you can control. Your power resides entirely in the choices you make right now, in this quiet room, in this single breath. A practical way to disarm these anxieties is to give them a physical form. Keep a small notebook by your bed. When a worry begins to cycle in your thoughts, write it down in a simple, clear sentence. I am worried the presentation will not go well. I am anxious about the traffic tomorrow. Then draw a line down the center of the page. On one side, label it within my control, on the other, beyond my control. Now transfer your written worry into the appropriate column. Your preparation for the presentation, your choice to get a good night's sleep, these belong in the control column. The specific questions your boss will ask, the mood of the room, these belong firmly in the beyond control column. The weather, the traffic, the opinions of others, almost all of them fall into the second category. This act of categorization is not just an exercise, it is a ritual of release. By visually separating what you can influence from what you cannot, you are training your mind to stop wasting its precious energy on phantoms. You consciously acknowledge the worry, you assign it its proper place, and then you let it go, returning your attention to the stillness of the night and the simple reality of your breath. What single worry is circling in your own mind tonight? Can you name it, write it down, and place it in the column of things beyond your command, granting yourself the profound peace that comes from surrendering a fight you were never meant to win? Your pillow offers more than rest. It provides a final chance for clarity before the day is done. This nightly ritual is a Stoic practice of gentle reckoning, a way to close the book on the past 24 hours with intention and peace. You are not just going to sleep, you are preparing to let the day go entirely. The goal is to learn from what happened without being chained to it, to review your actions with the calm eye of a friendly observer. Seneca captured the spirit of this practice perfectly in his writing on the shortness of life. He reminds us that life is long if you know how to use it, and that we are not given a short life, but we make it short by wasting our time. He urges us to value each day as a complete portion of life, not merely a step toward the next. Your evening review is how you reclaim that value, ensuring no day slips by entirely unexamined. To begin, you simply lie in the quiet and let your mind drift back over the day's landscape. You are not searching for dramatic triumphs or failures. You are looking for the small, telling moments. Perhaps you recall a difficult conversation where you managed to listen patiently instead of interrupting. You note that quiet victory. You also remember the moment you snapped in frustration at a minor inconvenience. You look at that moment too, not with guilt but with curiosity. What was the story you told yourself in that instant that triggered the reaction? Was it truly the delayed package that angered you, or was it a deeper feeling of being out of control? This is not about self-criticism. It is about gathering data on your own character. You might think about a choice you made, a task you avoided, or a kindness you offered. For each event, you ask a gentle question. Did my action align with my best self? Where did I practice courage, justice, or moderation? Where did I fall short? The purpose is to see your own patterns clearly, to celebrate the progress, and to identify the areas where you can grow tomorrow. As you feel sleep beginning to pull you under, ask yourself one final, simple question. What is the single most important lesson this day has taught me about living well? Then, having honored the day by learning from it, you can release it completely. You turn your mind away from the past and toward the quiet promise of the night, allowing yourself to sleep with a clear and untroubled conscience. Your phone rings late at night, a sound that instantly signals something is wrong. The voice on the other end delivers unexpected news, a problem that cannot wait until morning. In this moment, the entire structure of your planned tomorrow collapses. A practicing Stoic meets this rupture not with panic, but with a deliberate shift in perspective. The surprise itself is not within your control. The ringing phone, the words spoken, the sudden change of plans, these are external events. Your response, however, is your sovereign territory. This is where your training proves its worth, where you access a deep well of calm reason instead of the shallow pool of reactive emotion. Epictetus, who knew profound hardship, offered a powerful refrain. He said, "The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it. Skillful pilots gain their reputation from storms and tempests." He is not celebrating suffering. He is pointing out that calm seas do not reveal a captain's skill. It is the sudden storm that shows you what you are truly made of. The late night call is your storm. It is the exact situation you have been preparing for in all those quiet morning meditations and evening reviews. The Stoic move is to take one clear breath, accepting the new, unwelcome reality without internal protest. You then ask the only productive question: what needs to be done right now? Your mind, no longer hijacked by alarm, begins to assess resources and plot a course of action. Imagine a pipe bursts in your home, sending water across the floor. The common reaction is a cascade of stress, anger at the inconvenience, and anxiety about the cost. The Stoic response is to first shut off the main water valve, a simple, decisive action. Then you methodically move valuables, place down towels, and call for help. You handle each step with composed focus, your energy directed entirely toward solving the problem, not complaining that it exists. The same principle applies to receiving difficult news. You allow yourself to feel the initial sting, acknowledging it as a natural human reaction. But you then quickly separate the event from the catastrophic story your mind wants to tell about it. You focus on the next right thing, whether that is offering comfort to someone else, gathering more information, or simply allowing for a period of quiet processing. Think of a recent surprise that disrupted your own peace, large or small. Perhaps a last-minute cancellation of long-awaited plans, or an unexpected bill arriving in the mail. Recall the flash of frustration or disappointment. Now, reimagine that same moment through a Stoic lens. What if your first reaction had been a quiet acceptance of the new fact, followed immediately by a calm inquiry into the next appropriate action? How would that shift have changed the entire emotional texture of that experience, transforming a crisis into a simple task? The world finally withdraws its demands, leaving you alone with the quiet hum of your own thoughts. This solitude is not loneliness, but a sacred space for the most important conversation you will have all day, the dialogue with yourself. The Stoics saw these moments of deliberate aloneness as essential for mental clarity and honest self-examination. It is here, away from the opinions and expectations of others, that you can truly assess your progress and recalibrate your moral compass. Marcus Aurelius, in the midst of his imperial duties, constantly emphasized the power of this inner retreat. He wrote in his Meditations, "People seek retreats for themselves in the country, by the sea, or in the mountains. But this is altogether unlearned when you may at any time retreat into yourself." For nowhere can a person find a retreat more full of peace or less troubled than in his own soul. He is not dismissing the beauty of nature, but pointing to a more immediate sanctuary, one you carry with you always. You do not need a remote cabin to practice this. You can find it in a quiet corner of a park, in your car before you go inside, or simply by sitting in a silent room for 10 minutes. The goal is to step away from the external noise and turn your attention inward. In this space, you can ask yourself direct and honest questions without judgment. How did I handle that moment of anger today? Did my actions align with my principles? Where did I act with courage, and where did fear dictate my choices? This is not an exercise in self-criticism, but in clear-sighted observation. To make this tangible, you might schedule a short walk in a local park, leaving your phone behind. As you walk, you are not just exercising your body, you are giving your mind room to breathe. You observe the trees, the sky, the simple fact of your own breathing, and you allow the chatter of the day to settle. Alternatively, you could sit in a comfortable chair at home and do nothing but listen to the silence, letting your thoughts arise and pass without grabbing onto them. In that stillness, you reconnect with your core values, remembering what truly matters beyond the daily scramble for achievement. When was the last time you granted yourself the gift of uninterrupted solitude, not to be productive, but simply to be present with your own mind? Could you carve out just 10 minutes this week for this essential inner dialogue, creating a quiet harbor where you can rediscover your own steady center? Gratitude is the final anchor a Stoic casts before sleep, a deliberate practice that secures the soul against the tides of want and dissatisfaction. While the world encourages us to chase more, this ancient exercise trains us to see the abundance we already hold. It is a systematic recalibration of your attention, turning it away from what you lack and toward the countless gifts already present in your life. The Stoics did not see this as a passive feeling, but as an active discipline of recognition. Each day, no matter how difficult, brings with it lessons and provisions for which we can be genuinely thankful, building a bedrock of resilience that disappointment cannot easily erode. Seneca offers a piercing insight into this mindset in his moral letters. He writes, "Let us prepare our minds as if we had come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's account every day. The greatest flaw in life is that it is always imperfect and that a certain part of it is postponed." One who daily puts the finishing touches on his life is never in want of time. He urges us to live each day as if it were a full and complete life, a bonus granted to us, and to end it with a thankful heart for the experience itself. To practice this, you do not need grand gestures. As you lie in the quiet of your room, you can mentally review the day and name 3 specific things for which you feel gratitude. They need not be monumental. Perhaps it was the warmth of the sun on your face during a brief walk, the taste of a perfectly brewed cup of tea, or the unexpected kindness of a stranger who held a door open. Maybe it is gratitude for a lesson learned through a mistake, for the strength you discovered in a moment of patience, or simply for the roof over your head and the comfort of your bed. The object matters less than the act of sincerely acknowledging it. This nightly ritual does not ignore life's hardships, but it refuses to let them monopolize your vision. It insists that goodness exists alongside difficulty, and by focusing on it, you cultivate a contented heart. What 3 small, solid gifts from this day will you quietly count as your own before you close your eyes tonight? Sleep is the ultimate practice of letting go, a daily surrender to the natural order you do not command. As your consciousness fades into the quiet of the night, you are enacting a profound trust in the process of renewal, a core Stoic acceptance of the rhythms that sustain life. The ancient philosophers saw this daily transition not as a small death to be feared, but as a necessary and wise function of a universe operating by its own rational design. Marcus Aurelius reflected on this very idea, contemplating sleep as a brief and peaceful surrender to the same nature that governs the turning of the seasons and the rising of the sun. He wrote in his Meditations, "You have spent a whole life as a citizen in a great city. What is there to fear in leaving it, if it is no mere political administration, but the community of gods and men? Why should you not be content to be assigned a place by the order of the whole?" He is framing your entire life, including its periods of rest, as a harmonious part of a vast, intelligent system. To lie down and close your eyes is to affirm your trust in that system, to acknowledge that the world will continue its turn without your constant vigilance. The practical application of this is disarmingly simple. Your final preparation for sleep is not a frantic mental review of tomorrow's to-do list, nor is it a struggle to force your mind into blankness. It is a conscious decision to release the day's burdens, trusting that the person you have worked to become, the virtues you have practiced since dawn, are enough to meet whatever the morning brings. You have done your work with integrity, you have reflected on your actions, you have expressed gratitude. There is nothing more to be managed tonight. The goal is to slide into rest with the same calm acceptance you would bring to any other natural process, like the ending of a meal or the cooling of the evening air. How much of your nighttime anxiety is rooted in a lack of trust, not in the universe, but in your own prepared self to handle tomorrow's challenges? Could you, tonight, consciously hand over the weight of the future to the capable hands of the present, and allow sleep to be the quiet, trusting gift that it truly is? The stillness of a midnight awakening can feel like a rupture in your peace. Your mind jolts from the depths of sleep into a silent, dark room, and the first instinct is often frustration at the stolen rest. A practicing Stoic, however, sees this unexpected alertness not as a problem, but as a hidden interval for practice, a chance to return to your center without any of the day's distractions. This is the art of turning a moment of annoyance into a sanctuary of calm. Epictetus offered a fundamental rule for such situations, reminding us that it is not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them. He taught that every circumstance, no matter how inconvenient, is an opportunity to exercise virtue. Lying awake is merely an external event, a neutral fact. The internal narrative of frustration, the anxiety about being tired tomorrow, that is the judgment you have the power to revoke. You can choose a different story, one where this quiet hour is a gift of uninterrupted time for mindfulness. A simple way to begin is by focusing on your breath. You do not need to change its rhythm, only to observe it. Feel the cool air entering your nostrils and the slightly warmer air leaving. Notice the gentle rise and fall of your chest. Each breath is an anchor to the present moment, pulling you away from the whirlpool of thoughts about the past or future. If your mind continues to race, you can introduce a Stoic maxim, a short phrase to repeat silently with each exhale. Something like, "This too is for practice," or "I accept what I cannot change." These are not magical incantations, but tools to redirect your focus from worry to principle. You are not fighting the wakefulness, you are using it. You are lying in the dark, practicing acceptance and patience with the same deliberate care you practiced diligence at your desk. The next time you find yourself staring at the ceiling at 2 in the morning, can you meet that moment not with a struggle, but with a quiet curiosity? Could this unexpected silence become your private classroom for cultivating a deeper, more resilient calm? The deep blue of Predawn holds a silence thick with promise. Before the first bird sings, this quiet offers a blank slate for your entire day, a space to set your intention not on what you will accomplish, but on who you will choose to be. Stoicism teaches us that these earliest hours are a sacred gift, a daily opportunity to align our character with virtue before the world's demands begin to pull us in a dozen directions. Seneca, in his letters, cuts to the heart of the matter with a stark reminder of time's true value. He wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Life is long enough, and a sufficiently generous amount has been given to us for the highest achievements if it were all well invested. He urges us to see the morning not as a reluctant start, but as the first and most crucial investment of our day. The simple practice of rising just 15 minutes earlier than usual can transform your entire relationship with the day ahead. In that stolen quiet, you are not rushing. You can sit with a cup of tea and mentally rehearse the virtues you wish to embody. You might visualize patience for a difficult conversation, courage for a necessary task, or justice in a team meeting. You are not planning your schedule so much as you are preparing your soul, creating a mental anchor of calm, resolve that the coming storms will struggle to dislodge. What would it feel like to grant yourself that small margin of peace tomorrow morning, to wake not to an alarm blaring urgency, but to a few moments of deliberate stillness where you decide the tone of your own day? Some mornings arrive with a weight you can feel before you even open your eyes. Today holds a difficult conversation you have been dreading, or a project so tedious it drains your will just to think of it. This is the moment a practicing Stoic does not avoid, but actively leans into, using a powerful mental discipline known as the Premeditation of Adversities. You deliberately walk through the coming challenge in your mind, not to feed anxiety, but to strip the event of its power to surprise and destabilize you. It is a way of vaccinating your mind against the shock of reality. Marcus Aurelius dedicated significant thought to this preparation, especially for dealing with difficult people. He would remind himself that to be surprised by a frustrating person is to be surprised that a fig tree bears figs. The obstacle is part of the nature of the thing itself. He wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil." This was not his way of cultivating cynicism. It was his method of setting his expectations according to nature, so that when he inevitably encountered such behavior, he could meet it with calm understanding rather than righteous indignation. The practice is a form of mental rehearsal. You sit quietly and you visualize the specific situation you are facing. You see the crowded room, you hear the demanding tone in your boss's voice, you feel the monotony of the data entry task. Now you go further, you visualize your own ideal response. You watch yourself listening with unwavering patience. You see your hands continuing the tedious work with diligent care. You feel your own breath remaining steady even as pressure mounts. You are not rehearsing the outcome, you are rehearsing your virtue. You are creating a neural pathway for composure so that when the real moment arrives, your mind has already traveled that road. What single challenge are you anticipating in the hours or days ahead? Is it a tense family gathering, a demanding physical task, or a moment that requires you to deliver unwelcome news? Right now, in the quiet of your mind, can you walk through that scenario, see it clearly, and then decide in advance which virtue you will need to call upon most? Will it be patience, courage, or perhaps simple endurance? By premeditating your response, you stop being a passenger in your own day and become its calm, deliberate captain. A sudden burst of laughter from a child in a park, or the way the afternoon light turns a brick wall to gold, these moments arrive unannounced. They are flashes of pure, spontaneous joy, and the Stoic art is not to reject them, but to welcome them with an open hand and a loose grip. This is the nuanced practice of appreciating what the Stoics called preferred indifference. These are things like a beautiful scene, a pleasant meal, or a moment of connection that are naturally preferable to their opposites, yet they hold no intrinsic moral value. Your virtue does not increase with the sunset, nor does it diminish in the rain. Seneca offered a brilliant guide for navigating this terrain. He wrote, "We should enjoy these things, but not depend on them. We should use them, not be used by them." He invites us to sit at the banquet of life, to taste its offerings with gratitude, but to always remember that we can rise from the table content, even if the finest dishes are taken away. The goal is to experience pleasure without becoming its servant, to let joy visit without allowing it to become a permanent tenant whose departure would leave you bankrupt. You can apply this today by consciously noticing a moment of simple beauty. It might be the intricate pattern of steam rising from your coffee, the unexpected warmth in a stranger's smile, or the quiet satisfaction of a task completed. When you notice it, pause for just a single breath, acknowledge the gift of the experience, feel the pleasure it brings, and then consciously release it. Do not grasp at the feeling, trying to make it last longer or complaining when it fades. You simply let the steam dissipate, you let the smile pass, you turn the page. You enjoy the song without demanding an encore. This light touch with joy protects you from the suffering of craving and loss, allowing you to appreciate the world's beauty without being chained to its constant change. Where will you find your own small, unplanned moment of beauty before this day is through? And how will you practice the gentle art of holding it lightly, savoring its flavor without needing to own its source? Your lunch break offers the perfect excuse to step outside, leaving the hum of artificial light for the open sky. This simple act of walking to a park is far more than a breath of fresh air. It is a direct encounter with the rational order the Stoics called logos. In nature, you witness the universe's grand, impartial logic in action, a system where every leaf, season, and creature plays its part in a seamless whole. Marcus Aurelius constantly drew strength from this cosmic view, reminding himself in his meditations, "Everything is interwoven, and the web is holy." One thing, too, is intertwined with another, and there is almost nothing unconnected with anything else. He saw a sacred reciprocity in existence, where your own life is a single, vital thread in an immense and living fabric. You can practice this perspective on your own walk. Notice the gnarled oak tree, its bark scarred by seasons, yet still reaching for the sun. See the fallen leaves composting at its roots, nourishing the soil for the next cycle of growth. This is not decay and rebirth as separate events, but a single, continuous process of transformation. The ant carrying a crumb 10 times its weight is fulfilling its nature with perfect focus, just as the cloud moving slowly overhead is following the laws of physics without complaint. There is no resentment in the rock worn smooth by the river, only the patient evidence of time's passage. Observing these cycles reminds you that your own struggles and successes are part of a much larger, enduring pattern. How would it feel to spend just 20 minutes this week in a natural setting, not with a phone in your hand, but with your full attention on the world around you? Can you find a quiet moment to simply watch the methodical work of a squirrel or the effortless glide of a bird, and in their purposeful actions, see a reflection of your own capacity to live in harmony with a rational universe? From the first conscious breath at dawn to the final release into sleep, this entire day has been a continuous curriculum in living philosophy. Each moment, whether a quiet cup of coffee or a frustrating interruption, presented the same fundamental choice: to react from habit or to respond from principle. The Stoic art is not found in a secluded library, but right here in the friction and flow of your own life. It transforms the mundane into the meaningful, turning your commute, your work, and your conversations into a training ground for patience, courage, and justice. You have seen how a morning meditation builds an inner fortress, how a moment of criticism can be sifted for its hidden gold, and how an evening review converts experience into wisdom. This is the profound shift where life stops happening to you and becomes a series of deliberate practices you engage with. Epictetus, who understood this better than most, offered a perfect summary of the entire endeavor. He said, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing, in that it stands ready and secure against any assault, however sudden. This is the core of it all, to be ready and secure not by avoiding life's assaults, but by training for them in every small action." Your own day, with all its unique challenges and routines, is your personal wrestling ground. Every single thing you do, from the way you tie your shoes to the way you listen to a friend, is an opportunity to practice this art. The goal is not a perfect, conflict-free life, but a resilient and virtuous character, forged in the beautiful, imperfect reality of your own 24 hours. If this journey through a Stoic day has offered you a new perspective, consider subscribing for more guides on turning ancient wisdom into daily practice. We would love to hear which moment from your own day resonates most as an opportunity for growth, so share your experiences in the comments below and continue the conversation with a community learning to live with purpose and peace.